low carbon and climate resilient future. We have introduced policies including the concept of circular economy, which will drive mitigation and adaptation initiatives in our cities. We are confident that they will greatly contribute towards making Malaysia's low carbon nation by 2050. At the same time, developed countries have the responsibility to provide financial resources and technology transfer to the developing world to undertake sustainable initiatives. This is in line with the equity principle of common but differentiated responsibility. Mr. President, the development and deployment of nuclear weapons continues to be a threat to all mankind. Given the global health crisis, we find it disheartening that billions of dollars are being spent to maintain and modernize nuclear weapons rather than on saving life and livelihood. Malaysia supports the total eliminations of nuclear weapons and the assurance that they will never be produced again. This is the only guarantee against the catastrophic consequences arising from their use. Towards this end, Malaysia welcomes the coming into force of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, or TPNW, earlier this year. Malaysia reaffirms its commitment to the Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, and as chair of Main Committee 1 on Nuclear Disarmament for the 10th NPT Review Conference, we will strive towards bringing state parties together and do our best to steer the deliberations towards a fruitful outcome. Mr. President, Malaysia has always been a firm believer in all efforts and initiatives that promote peaceful coexistence between nations, between different peoples, and between different faiths and cultures. As a multicultural, multiracial, and multi-religious country, Malaysia strongly believes that we have been practicing can also be applied to the entire world. At the same time, we are a strong proponent of multilateralism. Both multilateralism and peaceful coexistence are mutually reinforcing. We need to realize that as we progress further, we should be far more integrated and stronger as a family of nations. Respect and mutual understanding must be the backbone and essence in our interactions and discourse. We believe that diversity can be a powerful source of strength and resilience. Thus, we need to take a deeper look at the many qualities that make up our family of nations. It is no longer enough that we tolerate differences, but we should instead learn to celebrate and treat them with genuine curiosity and meaningful respect. Amid the global uncertainties, it is time for us to work and strengthen our efforts towards living together in peace and harmony. As such, Malaysia will continue to do what it can in promoting peace and preventing conflict in the conduct of its foreign policy. With this approach, Malaysia will continue to uphold its fundamental principles of defending the nation's sovereignty and interests, maintaining good relations, including promoting tolerance, mutual respect, and understanding among all peoples and actors of all nations. As a member state of ASEAN, Malaysia is committed in preserving ASEAN region as a zone of peace, freedom and neutrality, ZOFAN. Malaysia also reaffirms its commitment towards global peace, security and prosperity by continuing to lead on the issuance of a joint communique on global ceasefire in June this year. We strongly believe that the UN membership must speak with one voice on the need for an immediate cessation of hostilities in all corners of the world. This would allow governments and all stakeholders to focus their attention on combating humankind's deadliest enemy. Nevertheless, Mr. President, it is unfortunate that we are far from realizing this global ceasefire. Many places are still experiencing instability. The situation in Myanmar remains of grave concern. Malaysia cannot emphasize enough the importance of respecting the will and interests of the people of Myanmar. This is a need for a peaceful solution to be found, especially with a multitude of challenges besetting the country. Malaysia is particularly worried about the humanitarian situations, now further aggravated by Myanmar's healthcare system, which is stretched thin. It is absolutely essential for aid to reach those in need. Equally troubling is the refugee crisis that has engulfed Myanmar since the mass exodus of Rohingya in 2017. Malaysia currently hosts more than 150,000 refugees from Myanmar, comprising 86% of the refugee population in the country. More than 66% of those are from the Rohingya ethnic minority, and this is just a conservative estimate. ASEAN member states have taken steps to engage key parties of this conflict to extend assistance where possible. Malaysia fully supports the work of the ASEAN Chair's Special Envoy on Myanmar. However, we remain concerned that the authorities have yet to allow ASEAN Special Envoy to visit the country. We urge the authorities to accept the visit and assist the Special Envoy in his duties, as well as expedite the implementation of the 5-point consensus. Mr. President, on the occupied Palestinian territory, OPT, Malaysia is appalled by the deaths of many Palestinian civilians, including women and children, following the brutal attacks by Israel in May this year. We strongly condemn repeated violations and aggressions by Israeli forces and settlers against Palestinian worshippers in Al-Aqsa Mosque. The targeted aggression against worshippers is indeed contemptuous to all Muslims or for any peace-loving religion. In fact, let us be truly frank about what is happening in the OPT. The systematic oppression of Palestinians over many years through discriminatory policies, denial of basic civil rights, imposition of harsh conditions, large-scale land confiscation, and inhumane acts committed against them is tantamount to the crime of apartheid. Yes, Mr. President, apartheid still exists in this world, and most of us are just turning a blind eye to this. Malaysia stresses again that Israel must be held responsible and accountable for all its wrongdoing, including its flagrant violations of international law. We welcome the establishment of an international commission of inquiry by the Human Rights Council to investigate violations of international human rights law during the 11th day crisis. Malaysia continues to call for the deployment of a temporary international presence in the city of Al-Quds to monitor the cessation of hostilities in the OPT. The international community must spare no effort to ensure the safety, protection, dignity and well-being of the Palestinian civilian population. While generations have had to endure this oppression, it is time that we pay attention to the voices and roles of the younger generation of Palestinians. It is time to give them a better future. They have been suffering in dreadful living conditions under illegal Israeli occupation for so many years.